Good.
All right. It's Karrie at Huckleberry's Fabrics. Thanks for joining us today. I'm going to show you how to make the Delectable Mountain block that is the border around this Call of the Wild Eagle panel. I'm just going to set that there for you. So the first thing I did was trim this panel to 31.5 by 40.5. I added a border. I just cut 4 strips, 3 inches wide, sewed them on, and then let's make some blocks. I did 18 blocks. So you will need 18 6.5-inch light and 18 squares 6.5-inch dark. To make the block, I just lay one on top of the other. And actually, sorry, I'll flip that over so that my line shows. We're going to do a half square triangle. So I'm just going to take the ruler and I'm going to mark this corner to corner. I'm going to use a friction pen. There we go. Now you're going to sew a 1/4 inch on each side of that line. So I've got one here already sewn. And then I'm going to cut that on the diagonal. I changed my blade just for you. Because 9 times out of 10, it's dull, so I changed it just for you. Okay, I like to trim this with the slotted trimmer. Now this was 6.5, but now that we've sewn a seam here, it's 6. So I used the slotted trimmer B, and we're gonna use the 6-inch at the bottom. So now remember, this dotted line looks like sewing, which means that goes on your sewing line. So I'm just going to lay that right on top, and it's going to just barely get a trim. So in this case, I'm using just the corner and just a little slice there. A rotating mat is lovely if you have one for doing this. Trim that, see, just barely, and then just that corner. And I don't have an iron out, so I'm just going to press this to the dark, and I've got my little finger press. Now if you don't have a slotted trimmer, here's the other half of the block. I'm going to just open this up, press it to the dark, and then I would just use my square. So I've got that lined up. The diagonal is here. And again, I'm just barely going to do a trim. If I had more room, then I would actually trim both sides. I am going to check the other side just to be sure. I try not to do all the cutting on one side, but this has got such a small amount coming off, it's kind of hard not to. All right, so now I need to lay, you see I've got a light and a dark. So in this case, light is here, dark is there. I've got the other half of the block. I am laying the dark on top of the light. And you should be able to feel that nested in there. And it would be better, of course, if this was iron, but you get the idea. So when I peel that back, those are right nestled into each other. Right there. Now I'm going to cut these 2 inches. So if you have the stripology, this is a great time, especially your smaller ones. that's a really good use for this. So you're going to do just 2 cuts, 2 inches. Then I'm going to lay them out into my block. Okay, so. And I don't have a secret for this. I always have to look. So I do my center. Then I'm going to add my sides. And you can see these are all going this way. Okay, so these are all going this way, these are going this way. So I just pick these up, put them together, and sew 2 by 2. Now this one, I did want a nice sharp point, so I did open up my seam. So this one, I did open this up, and I'll show you in a moment. So I would open both, sew those 2 together, sew those 2 together, just like those cooking shows on TV. Voila. We've got.
It is magic.
And then you would sew these together. So I'm going to turn this around for the camera. I want that nice sharp little point there. So I found opening it up helped me just reduce that bulk and get that really nice smooth. The next place they will join is this outer corner. So you could open those up also. Because when I join my blocks, that's what you're going to have. So saying that, when I sew those 3 rows together, you get your block. So I did 4 blocks across the top and 5 down each side. And then I did a 6-inch square in the corners as like a setting.
6-inch cut?
6-inch cut. So these blocks, I've got my measurement here for you. So the block before, so the unfinished block, sorry, is 6 by 9.5. Finished, it's 5.5 by 9. So if you would like to play with your borders, or depending on how your panel, you know, when we trim them up, if you don't have quite enough room, you can play with your measurements.
And it can go either way.
Yeah, it can go either way. So if you had it that way, the white would of course be up here.
Or, oh, you could even alternate them.
And I mean, it's such a fantastic block. I mean, I know you've seen it when they put them together this way. Oops, right there, sorry.
Cool.
So it's a great one to play with. And if you check, you'll find other measurements. Quite often people will make these with a layer cake. So I think it's a very versatile block, and I think you'll use it on more than just doing your eagle panel. Great, so thanks for joining us today. Hope you have fun making your Delectable Mountain blocks.